Hey everyone, it's Dr. Rick coming to you from the Endorphin Effect in Bartlett, and I was inspired to do this video because of a patient that came in today. She was a little bit frustrated with a doctor that saw her for a consult in Naperville. He was about to give her some medicines for appetite suppression, and he took a look at her blood pressure and her heart rate and said, I can't help you, you have to go back to your primary care doctor, fix it and come back to me. Number one, he was trying to fit the patient into a template. Number two, if the patient does lose weight, which she probably will with an appetite suppressant, what's she going to do when she gets off the medicine, or is she going to be on the medicine forever? Because you're going to have to stop the medicine sooner or later. If you're just going to do it to get to a wedding or to fit into your suit from grade school and get to a class reunion, God bless you. But if you wanted to change your life, reverse diabetes, get rid of your blood pressure medicines, or just feel youthful again, consider a consult with me. My website is down below, www.herbal411.com, or call up the Endorphin Effect in Bartlett and join my 6-week weight loss program group. No question, when we take care of large groups, we have a loose framework of sorts or a template to give a rough estimate for all people, but everybody in the group has to have a personalized program. The rough template usually comes out to this. The lowest hanging fruit is that if you decrease the total calories per day, you will do something spectacular. If you just cut out food, you'll be fine. But not everybody can do that, otherwise you'd be okay on your own. So we have to be tactful and strategically limit the amount of calories, but you have to do it in a way that you won't be hungry, crabby, or hangry, because the body has these built-in mechanisms that fight back when you rob it of fuel that you normally feed, especially if the fuel is sugar or simple carbohydrates. So the first attempt is usually caloric restriction, which will drop some weight, but you can't stay at that forever. In studying the Biggest Loser phenomenon, when you just cut down calories and you exercise the hell out of people, that will lose weight initially, but you'll also have the problem of metabolic reset. The body, in its defense of total calorie shutdown, if it thinks it's going through starvation, it'll adjust its metabolism or resting metabolic rate, RMR, to a lower level than previous, so that the eating that you're doing, which is a morsel of food a day, will actually be too much for you, so that when you go back to the previous diet, you'll gain more weight than when you started. So we don't want that. That's why I would probably pulse. First, I would initiate a decrease in total calories per day, see how they do, get them a little bit of exercise by starting to introduce, because most people aren't exercising enough, and I'd be careful about injury. So most people who haven't exercised for COVID, you gotta be careful that knees don't flare up, back doesn't flare up, shoulders don't flare up. And this is the good thing about insurance, that they might pay for a visit to a physical therapist, especially if the sports medicine doctor can identify weak spots. So be careful with injury, start activity. Decrease total calories per day, but at a certain point, and usually it's about 4 weeks or so, and everybody's a little different, you plateau on the calorie restriction and you plateau on the exercises, but you also prepare for an increase in exercise, and with that you increase calorie intake. Right here you have the window where muscle is starting to fine tune again, turn on, know what its function in life is, and then the muscle is going to be asking for more nutrition or more fuel. This is why you cannot decrease your fuel intake any further. Fear that you're going to hit the wall with your activities. If you don't know what hitting the wall means, in running, if you train for 13 miles, have enough fuel in your system, meaning glucose and fat, for 13 miles, and you decide to do 26 miles, your muscles at the 13-mile mark are going to say no. And you're going to cramp out, you're going to get exhausted, you're going to actually pass out. This could end up as a sickness, so we want to avoid hitting the wall because it's very frustrating. So if we can get past that, challenge the muscles to do more, and then maybe add more fuel to the system, not necessarily in the form of sugar or simple carbohydrates, but in the form of proteins or fats. For most patients, I like to typically keep carbohydrates at a low amount. That's very personalized, and it depends on if the patient is fat adapted. I usually get beta-hydroxybutyrates, insulin levels, diabetes levels, and cholesterol levels before we start. I can get a gauge for how they're doing depending on the initial blood test, and then performance in the gym, and then personalized changes depending on how they're doing in their progress. As long as they haven't had a metabolic reset where their RMR drops too low and they're able to make progress with their strength, If we adjust our macros to account for the response of muscle and performance in the gym and on the road, that's a better assessment for how many calories and how many macros we use, depending on the way we push them with regards to activity. That's why it's very important to be on the floor, on the road, and on the mat with the patients while we watch them progress on with their pulses. Some people can make gains very quickly, especially if they have high testosterone, high estrogen. Some people will be a little slower, so we don't want to be increasing their macros if they're a slow adjustment. If they're hyper responders, we want to answer and get them up to 3,000 to 4,000 calories, which usually young people and elite athletes need. Once my patient hits a decent amount of strength, and that's how we base it on, is the performance in the gym. And again, this is why resistance exercise is very important, is because you can measure improvement. If you're on the road or using cardiovascular fitness, it's hard to measure improvement unless you're using time. Again, I have to stress, the goal is not to make people muscular like bodybuilders. The goal is to turn the muscle into fat burning, cholesterol chopping, diabetes reversing machine. I'm a bodybuilding title holder from 18 years of age, and I've exercised all my life. So for me, healthy lifestyle equals some form of physicality, meaning low body fat, high muscularity. That doesn't mean I expect that with all my patients. I would just want for patients less disease, less suffering, and optimized longevity. This time period of maximizing on muscle strength and burning fat can extend past this, but at a certain point in time, there's going to be a plateau, at which point I would induce ketosis. Ketosis would be in the form of a 5-day fast. I love Prolon and what it does for my cancer patients. Personally, for me, the Prolon box or the 5-day fast is turned on myosatellites. I recently had my testosterone checked, and unfortunately, even if I'm healthy, my testosterone is low. With the last attempt at Prolon, it has really turned on muscle responsiveness like I was in my 20s. And that's with a low testosterone. So for those of you who have low testosterone, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, because I will be doing that video soon. So for anybody hitting a plateau, throwing in a 5-day fast will catapult you to the next level. And that's the complexity of the human body, that it tries to adapt to anything you throw at it, whether it's a disease process or a healthy lifestyle. The basis for changing up things is always because the body is dynamic. We live in a climate that constantly shifts, and we do well with it. So I do believe when we try to make lifestyle changes, we do better when it's changing back and forth, or when it's pulsed. I think that sticking with one thing too long will make it stagnant and will make it hard to be sustainable. And the best exercise, honestly, is the one that you'll continue with. The best nutrition plan is the one that you'll adapt. The best mindful practice is the one that resonates with you, because you'll always carry it with you. All those things that are effortless and become ritualistic will be part and parcel of you, and will be easy to deploy anytime you want. If at any point in time anybody hits the wall, then we stop, recollect data, and reprogram the plan. Everybody deserves to have a personalized program, because we're all different. Even medicines work differently in everybody. You cannot have a cookie cutter program, and this is a rough template, but it still has to be adjusted for the individual. So hopefully this gives you a couple of ideas of how my patients become warriors. If you know anybody else that's struggling with their own weight, please send them to my website, which is down below. Otherwise, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you at the next video.